What's up, y'all? So, you thought things were going to last with that person, right? You thought everything was going to be all good. It seemed like things were all good. Maybe you guys had a few arguments here and there. Everything seemed pretty straight, though, for the most part. It seemed like y'all were working things out. Then suddenly, you get hit with the news. They don't want to be with you anymore. Maybe they give you a reason why. Maybe it sounds legit. Maybe it doesn't. It hurts. It stings. But I'm going to tell you some things that you don't do when somebody breaks up with you, okay? But before we get into that, it's Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. If you could, please make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Stay up to date with all of my future Teachable Tuesdays content. Without further ado, let's get into this. The first thing you don't want to do is don't ask a whole bunch of questions. Why are you breaking up with me? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? And I know this is going to be very hard to accept, especially when you've been in this situation to where you've done all the right things, right? Now, if you're not and you know you've done some wrong things, that's a whole different story. You got to take that out. It's accountability, brother. Accountability system. But when you know you've done the right things, don't question it. When my last relationship ended, one of the good things that I did was, and I kind of messed up on something, but I'll get into that a little bit later in the video, was at the time being, I was like, okay. And it wasn't so much I was being cold. I wasn't being distant. It was just no words to be said. You don't want the relationship to continue. You don't have to give me a reason. We're moving on, right? And the reason why I think that's so important is because nobody really owes you an explanation. We get prideful in thinking that people owe us an explanation just because we were with them for X amount of time, because we put the work in. Let me tell you something. If you guys aren't married, nobody owes you an explanation. You could have been with somebody for 7 years. They still don't owe you an explanation. And I know some people will disagree. And for a while, I would have disagreed with what I'm saying right now. But the fact is, they don't want to be with you. Because if they did, they would have made it work, right? Under any circumstances. So with that being said, you got to let it go. And press forward towards other sides. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing you don't want to do. Don't be asking a whole bunch of questions. Number two, now this is debatable, but I would advise you to unfollow them on social media. Now, up to a couple of days ago, I would have been like, unless they disrespected me or ended on super bad terms, I'm going to still follow them. They still going to follow me. I'm just not going to interact with them. Nope. When somebody breaks up with you, right, you need to go ahead and distance yourself completely. Because essentially them breaking up with you was basically saying, regardless if it's from a spiritual level or physical level, because there's different reasons why breakups happen, they're basically saying that I could do better, in a sense, right? And if you can do better, that's cool. But I don't need to know that. And it's not so much that I don't need to know that, but it's more so the principle, right? You made a decision. You made a decision without me. So I'm going to make sure I sever all ties. Not out of bitterness, not out of pettiness, not out of revenge, but out of my own peace, right? Out of my own well-being. I'm going to make sure that I do what's necessary to start the healing process and move on. Because I'm going to have to go through the 5 stages of grief, right? Talk about that in another video, or you can look it up. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. But, yeah, essentially there's a lot that I got to go through. So with that being said, just go ahead and sever those ties. Because, you're already deleting the number. You might as well go ahead and delete social media too. I'm not going to necessarily say block, although I'm going to be real with you. If you choose to block, okay, I'm not going to be mad at you about that. I get why people block. So, yeah, that's the second thing that I would say. Don't continue to follow them on social media. Third thing, another social media, don't be stalking their page either. Don't be seeing what they're up to. This is a mistake I've made plenty of times. No. It's going to be hard. Especially if their page is public. You're going to want to see what they're doing. You're going to be curious and so on and so forth. We all get curious, in the words of Andy Mineo. What's that line he said? And I'm butchering this line. He said, we got to learn what it means to be content about what God did and not the things he didn't. Something along those lines, right? So we got to take that into consideration. Now, the next one is a mistake that I made in my last relationship, and I do not want you guys to make the mistake. I said number one, don't go around asking questions. But here's something that's even worse than that. Don't go pouring your heart out to that person. When I was in my last relationship, one of the things that I did, unfortunately, was my ex had sent me an apology about breaking up with me, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, that was a perfect time for me to just go ahead and either ignore it or just respond, simply put, move on about my day, right? If you are going to respond, keep it short. I would recommend not, but if you are, that's my take on it. But I started pouring out my heart. I started saying, I feel this way, I feel that way, and you broke my heart and this and that and so on and so forth. Don't do that. Don't, especially my fellas. Don't do that. But ladies, you too, but especially my fellas. That is a no-no, okay? That is a huge mistake that I made. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I was thinking. Well, I know what it was. I was being overly emotional, and I wasn't thinking logically as a man should do, as people in general, in most cases, should do. So don't do that. All right. Don't be pouring your heart out, because it doesn't. Because at the end of the day, it didn't matter. At the end of the day, the response that I got wasn't even a super legit. I'm not gonna say it wasn't a super legit response, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? You pouring your heart out to this person is not gonna change things. It wasn't so much I was pouring my heart to this person like I was begging them, which I'm gonna get to that next. But it was just more so telling them how I felt. No, don't say squat about how you feel. At least not to that person. If you want to talk to some friends about it, cool. Talk to family about it, cool. Don't keep it inside though. Express yourself. Talk to God about it, cool. Talk to your therapist about it, cool. Don't talk to the person that broke up with you. Why? That's like you going to an animal that attacked you, and you're going back after the attack has happened. And worse of all, you're not even healed from the attack. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. I know that was a lot. That's like you going to an animal that attacked you. You walked away, you escaped, or they let you get away because they let you go, and you're going back for more. Would you do that in real life? If a grizzly bear clawed you in the face and it walked away, would you go back to that grizzly bear? No. And I promise y'all, this is not no, because I know somebody's going to be thinking, here comes the bear argument. I know at least one person going to think it. No, that's not what I wasn't going for that route. I was just giving an example. Last but not least, don't beg. Don't beg. Please, please, please. I've done that before too. Do not beg. It makes you look desperate. And let me address something to my fellas specifically real quick. I know there's all these videos about, be a man, ignore her. And ladies, you might apply this too. And watch them when you're silent. They'll come back wondering. No. That should not be the mindset that you have. In fact, I wish people wouldn't say that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because why does it matter? They left you. In a sense, even if it was for good and godly reasons, there's a part of them, albeit maybe small, might be big, they're betting against you. If they're breaking up with you, they're saying, I can do better. Even if somebody breaks up with you for good reason, they're still subliminally saying, I could do better. Because if they thought better was you, they would keep you. They would keep you. So no, don't be begging and don't be, I'm going to do this so that way I can get her back or I can get him back. No. Who gives a darn? Move on with life, man. Move on with life, sis. And I'm talking to myself when I say that too, because I get it. I've been heartbroken. I've been hurt a lot. But if you don't move on and you don't put in the work to heal. You don't put in the work to become stronger. What's going to happen is you're going to bleed on to the next person. And if there's one thing I don't want to do, I don't want to bleed on to the next person. I don't. I don't. I don't want to ruin the next person because of what was wrong with me originally. It's not my fault, or it's not your fault that they left you if you did all the right things. It is your fault if you don't take the time to work on it. It is your fault if you do any of the things that I said not to do that I've done. You're only hurting yourself. You are only hurting yourself, and I don't want that for you. Last but not least, this is not a thing that you shouldn't do, but I think this is a thing that you should do. So I'm going to end the video on a positive note. Put your focus back on you. Put your focus back on God. Put your focus back on things that benefit your life. Really, in the following order, it should be God, yourself, and life. In that order. Why do I say that order? Because at the end of the day, God is the head of all things. When you put your focus on Him, everything else flows the way it needs to be. Yourself, because the work starts within you. And the world around you, because you got a job, man. You got a job, sis. You got a purpose. Your purpose is bigger than the person that left you. Your purpose is bigger than the person that broke your heart. Your purpose is bigger than any man or woman that you could ever get with. I said this in my last video. What if you don't end up with nobody? And I'm sorry I'm ending the video on this note, but I just want to be real with you for a second. What if you don't ever end up with nobody ever again? Or you don't end up in a long-term relationship, marriage that you desire? You still got to put in that work. And if you do any of the things that I said that you shouldn't do, you're holding yourself back, not only from a potential partner, if it's meant for you to have one, but you're holding yourself back from your purpose. And on this channel, we thrive in striving towards our purpose. Okay? I love you guys. It's Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays, here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. Thank you for joining today. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. As always, it's all love. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and comment below. Let me know if there's any, if you agree or disagree with what I said, or maybe some mistakes that you made after a breakup. All right. Much love, y'all. Until next time.